raised the question. I think there was another brother there from Pittsburgh or something too.
Yeah, it was brother being
who raised a similar type of question about, hey y'all, what's up with the enemy? And many people who were there felt like it was a Ron Daniels presidential campaign conference. And I'm intrigued by any black man want to be president. Because I'm watching white men have a hard time being president. And so I don't understand what a black man will add to that dilemma. I'm confused. So I didn't go to the state of the face because I know how bad the face is. And there's no need for us to perpetrate publicly that we got the bases covered when in fact we cannot answer in Detroit, Chicago, Cincinnati, Baltimore, New York, Miami, LA, San Diego, Kansas City. What is the name of the dominant local black power organization? No. We don't have no answer for that. And so the state of the face will never be accurately told because it's a front or a face. It's a falsetto. It's a perception to be fed to us, the masses, the guinea pigs, that just roll over, we got it covered. And what I'm going to try to do in the time that I have is to bring you up on 94. 94, too often we don't reflect. And this by far was one of the greatest years for the advancement of white supremacy in the history of the caveman. He got it going on. And you know, for a long time I had spoke to you about the book Pros and Cons of Behold a Pale Horse, Epperson, any of these right-wing books that were constantly coming forth in the public that I perceived were setting us up for an attack on the Kemetic people. An attack on the Kemetic people. There are white Christians here who need a rationale for killing you, but as a poor white are somewhat reluctant, understanding that you're not the ultimate power, they're somewhat reluctant to attack you directly. I mean, they have covert buzzwords, anti-crime bill, etc. The attack on the Kemetic people is to ignite the Christian connection. And I thought probably the most severely black negative movie of the year of 94 is a recent one. Right. So my ear said it, there's no doubt. What's the name of that movie? Stargate. See there, everybody know it. Everybody know it. You saw the conclusion of years of setting our ass up to be the pagan sun worshipers. Horus, the evil sun god. Africans, the descendants of the evil sun gods. It was a heavy moment. And as the calls start coming in around the country, brother, what did you think of the movie? Some things I must do in responsibility. I may not desire to see it, but may have to see it to cover the flock. Now, there are many people out here in our behalf who pledge to be our Kemet coverers. I want you to walk out here and listen carefully. For the lovers of Kemet's attack on the Kemet playing field. Now let me explain that. Brother Coakley deals with the area of conspiracy, where two or more have gotten together to do illegal actions against the Africans. That's my spot. Now, if Karinga come on there and say ain't no conspiracy to do to black people, I do Karinga. If Haki get confused about whether Jewish people in the conspiracy, I do Haki. If somebody got this butter knife analysis of white supremacy, I do them. Or you got the what-if theory of Amos Wilson, I do him. If anybody step on my field and delegitimize the advancement of our struggle on a murder case, then I kick their ass. There's no doubt about it. And whether it be from Nzinga, Beach, or whomever, they will tell you Brother Coakley is consistent on that level because that's my field. I expect the same from Brother Vincent Education. Everybody's got to cover their spot. Now, I ain't the Kemetic brother. I've always told you, as I stood before you, I have never sought to be a Kemetic expert. I bow to other people who I expect and respect is having more information there, and if they'll cover that, I'll cover this here now thing. But, again, I ain't no health specialist either. I ain't no economist either. deal. But if you can't claim in the kinetic thing, probably some of the most advancing dialogue. Now, we had a conference over here in Washington, D.C., and UDC was $100 a person. And my good friend and good sister, Sister Pat, was the coordinator of that. But I also watched HBO and heard some melanin discussion from the little flick they did called Cosmic Slop. Y'all see that? I mean, y'all saw the Cosmic Slop. Gotta see it, Vince. I'll get a tape for you for that. I'll make sure I cover you on that. Cosmic Slop was an attack on the melanin people. Yeah, I saw that in the intro. I'm not familiar with the book. I'm gonna need to try to find that. Show you right. But you can see that dialogue publicly is about the finishing of the black people. Looks real clear to me. I remember in the flick Stargate, when those boys Russell's objective was, when you get to the bottom of the greatest secrets, do the white thing. Blow it up. Blow it up. Blow it up. And there are countless analogies of the flick that were just awesomely ugly. And I'm sure you all are fixed on that. I don't want to be repetitious and probably need to have a whole discussion. But just for me to ask you a minute, somebody holler out something that you perceive needs to be in the record that was negative about Stargate.
When they went back to ancient civilization, those were not black people.
Right. Check.
All of the mythological...
Let me just repeat that for the record. Sister had made a point of the fact that when they went back to the Kemetic people, those were not shown as black people.
And all of the mythological symbolism people were portrayed as villains.
As villains, right. Jack. Yes, brother.
And the head man was supposed to be the God figure was really nothing but a faggot.
The crime game. Right. Going off from the He-Man, She-Man concept.
Also like that false concept of the white Jesus.
The white, sure, you're right.
Soft looking white Jesus on the cross, same thing. They gave him a soft looking faggot.
Right. Yes.
At the end, the very end of the picture, where usually a white man rides off into the sunset, now he goes back into the sunset or into the time zone and had all the little black people salute the demonic white man.
When they show up, right.
He wasn't the protagonist,
right.
But he was like a secondary devil. And they, how you doing, white people?
All the black people salute the white people when they show up. Anything else? Good point.
The opening dialogue with the credit for the pyramid, the Africans did not build the pyramids. This is done by some other people.
Right. Check. Notice all of the movies that are dealing with time travel, from Time Cop and Terminator 2, this and that process by which they show them walking out of the one world into the other world look uniquely similar in all of them. This plastic pulling type of imagery, like they're walking through a rubber styrofoam or something. I don't quite know how to describe that perception that they're feeding, but they're heavy now on time thing.
So
Yes.
they inspired these African white people to rise up out of their wretched condition by showing them that it was really a black man that they'd been worshiping. When they killed the black man.
Right. Took his head off, said, "Look at him! Right. And what was the powerful symbol in the movie that was supposed to open all of the key moments, the key doors of made one worship another one? The Eye of Ra. The Eye of Ra.
When he came into the village, all the people bowed down in front of him like he was.
Right. When the white woman who had stolen out of some cash that her father had gotten when she was a child, she picked it up and kept it. Yes, sir, brother.
The whole premise of the movie was a lie from the beginning to the end because it was never the eye of Ra. It was the eye of Haru. And my son caught that.
Right.
And we have to understand there's a distinctive difference between that. And he negated your biblical story. When he let you grab the eye of Ra instead of the eye of Haru. Also, white people need to believe that aliens built that part of the world.
That's right.
And that's the premise that all of them, if you talk to them, they'll jump out to Venus or Mars and say that those are the people who came here.
Which would then make us what?
They're niggas.
Nothing.
Also, brother,
Nothing.
one more
thing.
Go ahead.
One more thing. The brother who they tore the helmet off, who had either Jehudi's head or Anubis, he was the brother of the Olmec head.
Exactly.
See, and that's what they were showing. Exactly. He's the Olmec brother who had been here thousands of years before Columbus.
Somebody over here had their hand up. Yes, brother.
I didn't see the movie. No. Now, I was the brother over here saying I was going to
Talk loud. Y'all talk loud.
yeah, the brother did say what I was going to say, but there was another thing I noticed in connection with some other things I've been seeing with Amenhotep. The mask that they used looked a lot like him, and there's a lot of talk about him being homosexual, where that goes back to, from their perspective, some of the things they say about him. But I've noticed a lot of programs on A&E and other Discovery channels dealing with him lately. And so I don't know if that's connection.
Steve, question.
Yeah.
Anybody in the audience, what was the significance and the key is fuzzy in my mind? Well, that was his hybrid children standing there, that he had had sex and breeded. He had little children that almost looked identical. Even the brother that he sucked his brain out, they all looked identical, like they were hybrids. And I couldn't pick up whether, like you were saying, whether he was incestuous or what, but it was a whole negative trip.
Yes.
I didn't see the movie, but as far as speaking on that issue, the genetic things that are going on in our communities and the breeding of people is a very serious thing. You go to the Safeway, you look around, we're in a famine. You go to the Safeway, there's no living food. Baseball to eat, tomatoes. So what they're doing is like creating societal and environmental conditions that breed us down. Like if you walk through a neighborhood, there's nowhere to throw trash.
Yeah.
So you just throw it. And people are going to be eating all
Yes, sir.
that.
I noticed it when the film first began, in the very beginning, when they were showing the face of the sarcophagus, the way they showed the light on it, he looked cross-eyed. They just made it look kind of like ridicule.
One thing that a friend of mine pointed out is that, and I didn't catch it either until she repeated it to me, was that when the guy is with the female down in the pyramid, and she's pointing out to the symbology on the wall, she says something like "mechu nurture." In reality, what she was really saying was "metanat." Only that they couldn't even admit that, so they had to "mechu nurture."
Yes, brother.
Two quick things. One is their symbol in Hollywood is always repetitive, and the nerdy old white boy gets the woman of color. He got the woman of color, but he got no black woman.
She wasn't too dark. She wasn't too dark.
Yeah. And also there's another gate, Watergate or Contragate, a non-Stargate.
Right.
That stuff was right for you. You don't know what it is yet.
One thing, I didn't see the movie, but I read the screenplay. The young man who was the leader, the bad guy, he wasn't really human. He was an alien that was infecting the body of the human. He was thousands of years old, who had come to Earth because he felt that humans were easier to control.
And just to slide over the cosmic slop, if you remember the concept of cosmic slop, of give me all your melanin people, of a certain degree of melanin, and the whole ridicule of taking the paper bag and putting it next to see if you were qualified to go. It's just a whole other level of discussion. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Anything else about Stargate?
One thing I noticed is that once again, a brother came over to the movie. God didn't kill. African-American brother came over.
Oh yeah, brothers always die early. Brothers be the first. She looked up, sister turned to me, she said, well, there goes the brother. I see the brother gone. It's always quick on that. Brothers will be gone in the flick. Don't take long. You do a flick on Africa, brothers will be gone early.
Number two, a white guy always, we can't find brothers who come in there and read, the Egyptians. They had called it,
a little goofy looking, white guy. Right.
Read it.
Right. He can read it so instantly, finding they were being selling heavily in the black community, that were being sold without review. That they were actually then taking books written by white Christians, taking commentary by Albert Pike about ancient Kemetic things under Greek code words, and saying that Pike was an evil man, and Pike then reflects on these Kemetic things in the Greek code words and gives honor and respect and seeks to become linked to those things in his masonry.
Right.
Those who are doing the anti-masonry thing respond to Albert Pike as if Pike made those things. And his claim of them is never checked out as an invalid claim, but the claim is legitimized as, well, he knows those things because he created those things, and those are evil things. Those books I always was afraid of, that paganization of Kemet under false analysis was a setup for something. Now, you must know how long it takes to make a movie. That the movie we see today was finished a year and a half ago, conceived 2 years prior to that. Production, money, layout, script, long before it comes forth. But all of the other impediments in society have to line up for it so that they all spill down at the appropriate moment. Yes?
Breaking off of that, Charles Sears says they make the movie a bad movie. To me, so that
Right.
it's going to be on TV before long, it's going to be on
Right.
videotape.
Right.
I walked in the Egghead last week, and they had a whole rack, multimedia CDs, the making of Stargate.
Which was on HBO, I believe I saw.
Right, exactly.
And the toys too.
And they got Stargate toys? Yes, brother.
I think one thing that stuck out in my mind about the movie is that the leader of the soldiers, his main mission was to go there and destroy the world with the nuclear bomb he had brought with him.
Right. So when you get to the bottom of that, blow it up.
Right.
Right.
One of the key things also was that to keep the infiltration going, the total masses had to be kept uneducated and could not read.
Right. I always had to keep them docile, dim-witted. All right. So consensus is that Stargate is not the pro move, and in fact may go along with certain genocidal needs, and that little poor white Christian who may end up liking a neighborhood football star who is black, or their child may want to be like Michael Jordan, needs to break the psychological lean to emulate black people, breaking it by paganizing the black thing as deviance from hell. Now, we all know the reality of hell in the Humvee. So we know this is the biggest twist of all. But the twist without opposition is progress for the Humvee. Okay. Interesting, this weekend's Washington Times, the weekend section has a little thing called It's Messiah Time. Handle it. You see whites looking at a little sheet of paper. It's just a little weekend movie section guide. It's Messiah Time. Handle it. I don't know what that means. Right.
Second coming of the white man.
Yeah, that's what it'll take. Sure. Another thing. You all were talking about the school thing earlier. And the sisters who are more than qualified and sensitive to the needs of African children are actually not the population that is to be prepared to teach in the school system. Now, you got a process going on where you're going to retrench one group of workers and you're going to channel them or focus them into another industry unrelated, but they bring forth a certain level of confidence to the system that has the system escalate this. This was on the front page of the New York Times 2 days ago, Wednesday, and I'm going to let you all look at this. You need to know who it is headed your way. Peace dividend. Troops turn to teaching.
That's right.
The US government is paying teachers' salaries salaries for 5 years if a person will leave the military and go to a public school. And they will pay the public school that teacher's salary for 5 years. Now, you need to think about that, because I remember doing the Niggas in the Year 2000 lectures and other things talking about the future, and it talked about taking, when the white world united and there was no more overt direct enemy, soldiers would be sent to the new enemy, to schools, crossing guards, and social service agencies, so that they could be multi-persons.
They had a discussion this year on OL about it. They had a military personnel talking about it.
Dangerous. Yes, brother.
That was going on in the 80s.
That was going on in the 80s. This is New York Times 2 days ago. Dateline, Baltimore. When Staff Sergeant Arthur Moore retired last spring after 20 years in the Army, he decided to stop complaining about public schools and do something about them. He applied for a job as a 5th grade teacher at Samuel Coleridge Taylor Elementary School. Y'all know what that is? City officials quickly hired him. Quote, male teachers are a premium in any public school. We are fortunate to have someone with his background. As the shrinking American military pairs its Cold War forces, thousands of retiring members of the armed forces like Mr. Moore are turning to a new $65 million a year program. How many million?
65 million.
What could the schools do with the 65 million with Benson and the others doing the Afrocentric education? What could 65 million do to resolve the problem? They're not changing nothing but the teachers. These are able-bodied teachers. All they want to get is paid. Well, maybe the reason they can't get paid is that the ones they got coming are already paid.
Oh, yeah.
They are already paid. And since the schools are fingerprinting the students, they're already on the crime docket. Because you know where the fingerprints going. You know where they're going. And I will notice that we got to talk about the shooting up in the D.C. police office. We got to talk about a bunch of shit all running here together. Give me a minute. Just get warmed up here. The program is called Troops for Teachers. See that? The Troops for Teachers program is one of the most successful components of a broader effort by Congress and the Clinton administration to help steer nearly 2 million military. How many million? 2 million. How many is 2 million? Larger than any organization we got. They're going to send 2 million Constitution protecting teachers out. Remember the trial of the oath takers. The military takes the oath to protect the Constitution. The Troops program is one of the most successful. It says to help steer nearly 2 million former service members, many still in their 30s and early 40s, into second careers in healthcare and law enforcement and education.
And pay the Senate all they don't.
So you're right. Right, his job as a senator. Of course, for years, retiring military personnel have gone into teaching as a second career. Although there are no national data on their numbers, education researchers estimate that 5,000 have left the military since 1990 are now teaching in public schools. But the new program has attracted more than that in the 10 months since it began. About 5,100 former members of the armed forces have applied, and so far schools in 30 states have hired them. The Defense Department expects 1,000 more to be hired this year. Pentagon helps pay retiring service personnel up to $5,000 to defray cost of earning their teaching credentials. To entice schools to participate in the program, the military pays the teacher's salary for 5 years. Oh, no, I take that back. It says to entice schools to participate in the program, the military pays up to half of the teacher's salary for 5 years, or a total of $50,000 per teacher. The troops turned teachers must agree to teach for at least 5 years. Retiring civilian employees in the defense and energy departments, as well as people who have worked for military contractors like General Dynamics and McDonnell Douglas, are also eligible. That's right. That now puts it's it's like putting Montel Williams in the classroom with your 7-year-old. Now stand up here. Get a white woman when you get It says, under the Troops for Teachers program, anyone left the military in good standing since October of 1990 is eligible. And then they even list a toll-free number for people to call. So the story is not as much news as it is promotion. Anytime a story runs an 800 number to advocate inclusion, we'd be excessively conscious of Troops for Teachers. Probably just a small coincidence that the troops are coming into the schools. Of course, the schools are the only place of uncontrollable activity where children who have not been compromised with television and car notes and house notes, etc., are the most likely threat to the New World Order. There's some videotapes under the table at Spy System 2000, the targeting of the 4. I highly recommend that for any of you because of the fact that it reflects where that intelligence community is going now. Now, you might have heard the fact that the CIA, in fact, it was probably in your yesterday's paper, has a study going on the impact of this Ames thing at the CIA. In fact, this morning's Fox News called it FBI-CIA Wars. So, AMUC, that means that, see, I only saw one, but you see they're coming in a concentrated way across several avenues simultaneously. So if you don't get it at 7 a.m., you get it at 11 p.m., 12 noon or something. What's that? Those are right.
You're going at 11 a.m.
At Diane Williams, I saw her on C-SPAN. They always talking about me on that show. Yes, sir.
Baltimore Police Department just got $400,000 to train non-police officers for gang violence. When I got the articles in the House last year, the state's attorney saying in Baltimore we have no problem with gang violence. Maybe some other gangs they're looking for.